The idea of Fiona and Cake has kind of become dry, and it really hasn't made me interested. A lot of the episodes haven't been that good or immersive. I don't really care for the characters of the world because it's like a one-off story. To me, that doesn't sit right with how Fiona and Cake has been the past couple seasons. That aged badly. Yo, what's going on, everyone? So I finished Fiona and Cake, which also means I have completed Adventure Time. So after every installment season, I always do a review or like a summary type of thing just to capture my present thoughts, the rawness, that experience. So we will do just that. If you guys haven't seen any of the other reviews, reactions, they'll be somewhere on screen or down below or channel. You know the deal. I'll be going into spoilers, so highly recommend that you watch this and come back to see what I have to say about it. I don't know what I'm saying right now. All right, let's get to it. Follow me on Patreon. That's where the uncut reactions to all of Adventure Time in terms of the last act, which is Come Along With Me, Distant Lands, and Fionna and Cake will all be there uncut. Or if you just want to support me, much appreciated. All right, let's get to the Fionna and Cake review. After the illustrious Adventure Time came to an end, as the Distant Lands specials contained some closure that the show desperately needed, it felt as if the series would be closed for good. That was until Fionna and Cake would be announced and released in 2023. Coming into this, I had always seen the posters and spin-off talk during my watch through. So, kind of seeing that in the background, that's kind of what I expected from this. A sort of spin-off. So, how did Fionna and Cake impact Adventure Time? Is it part of the story? Is it worth it? To my surprise, Fionna and Cake managed to blow my expectations out of the water with its newfound tone as it captures more darkness, bleakness, and realism with the characters and dialogue. I'm a broken record, but the show manages to be so limitless with its world building, creativeness, and charm. And that is emphasized with the longer runtime as it allows the pacing and developments to feel buttery smooth and cohesive. There's no rushing with its situations as it just lets the event or dialogue play out, which I feel even the original series had trouble perfecting. The cast is still filled with incredible characters that are inverted forms or in a different verse, but they are just as lovable and fleshed out. The music here as well is glorious and has leveled up. The songs have so much more professionalism and production improvements that it is impressive and gives even more depth to an already great package. The standout aspect that the series utilizes and what makes it great is the plot device with the multiverse. This allows us to venture into the endless world of what ifs as it twists what was once concrete. The amount of content and behind the curtain developments this series has done with all of these elements bleeds even more life and wonder to one of the most adventurous series to ever be developed. All of this has me invested and enamored with the series as it is executed to near perfection. It sort of demeans and throws him away faster than he got introduced. He is given that dilemma of having done what he wanted, but still feeling empty, which does humble him. But I just didn't think the goal of sending him off and having the integral part to the fallout of everything in the story wasn't the strongest and cuts the tension. I know this is a small gripe, but it did suddenly deplete a lot of that initial quality, which did give me Season 9 and Season 10 vibes, which, if you know, I wasn't the biggest fan of. Despite that, I pretty much loved everything they did and was impressed with how they handled the first season. Plot and world. I'm going to generally mention the plot points and not go super into it like my other Adventure Time reviews. This is just for my own sanity. And plus, if you're watching this, you probably already know what happens. This is just for me to kind of recap and maybe see if I got it correct and to test my knowledge and memory. So we start off in the magical Fionna and Cake world. It was confusing at first, but this turns out to be the same Fionna and Cake world we know, but it is desperately lost its magic. This is all connected to Simon, who he himself is struggling with life after not being the Ice King in the modern Ooh. I love how they show this side of him being so shunned and disconnected from the world. The entire time he is denying Fionna and Cake and his older self, so this is causing that world to not be its magical self. Simon goes to open up the portal to get back to Betty, but ends up failing once again. But opening a portal where now the ice in the Fionna and Cake world can be a portal into Simon's verse. This causes for Prismo to get involved, as this creates a crossover / disturbance, but he's too sluggish to care. It is then revealed that Prismo is actually the one who implanted the Fionna and Cake fanfiction into Ice King's mind, as he created this world, but gods cannot be doing this. A huge retcon. I believe the Fionna and Cake Fionna episode hinted at this. So to help rejuvenate and fix the Fionna and Cake world, Simon agrees to become the Ice King, but they must travel to different verses in search of a new crown to both be the Ice King and to jumpstart their remote when it fails. While this happens, they have Galactic Cosmic Officer Scrabby hunting them down, which is awesome to have this multiverse hunter out and about. The show goes into such incredible places as we see mind-bending verses, like one where Simon is not consumed by the crown, only for the crown's power to actually not be harnessed, showing how destructive the crown actually is. We venture back to farmland, where Icefin is grown up with his family and denies all ties with the crown, which could contrast to how Simon feels about Fionna and Cake. The infamous vampire world where Simon died, which left Marceline to side with the Vampire King, as vampires rule the world, which causes more fights for our characters as the contrast. Between all of this, Gary and Marshall has made me see the yaoi light that only Tweak and Tolkien had made me feel. It is cute but apparent throughout the show. It's a nice way to give us that world's development and get a slight break from the madness. Finally, there is a verse where Bimo is the only one remaining, and it turns out this is a world where the Lich was successful in his pursuit of ending the world and humanity. This is the most pivotal episode, as alongside the journey, Simon has a retelling of his relationship with Betty. And we find out that Fionna has always had the crown in her backpack, but was afraid of Simon turning out to be the Ice King, didn't want her world to be changed, and is still distraught about killing civilians and innocent people. The Lich is not awake, so Simon uses his time to go back to Betty, but, of course, the Lich wakes up and they are sent to Gulb's dimension. Here, the Lich announces he is still unsatisfied with his outcome, so he prays to Gulb, who just turns him into a puzzle frozen entity piece and moves on. Fionna and Cake are back in their world, while Simon is a version of Shermie from the future, from the season 10 finale, who is finding the crown through a video game book, JRPG, where he also learns the reality of his relationship with Betty. In Fionna and Cake, everyone is content with their lives, but Scrabby is out to erase this world. This has the meeting of Golbetty result in them accepting the message Simon learned from this and extracting a flower, which is the remains of his spark for Fionna and Cake. He gives it to Fionna to blow and to save their world. This causes the world to be canonized in the multiverse, so now Scrabby is in violation of destroying a canon verse, who now joins Prismo. Everyone returns to their everyday life, Simon gets therapy, and Fionna loves the human world. And that is roughly and concisely what happened in season 1 of Fionna and Cake. Characters. So one of the best aspects of the show is the characters. This is something that going into it, I kind of was nervous because I just thought it wasn't going to be as fleshed out or as awesome as it was. So since this is kind of a unique situation, I think what we're going to do is 5 characters we're going to do from the multiverses that we experienced, and then the next 5 will be the more consistent and constant characters that we've seen throughout the series. We have Martin. Though his appearance was really short, he made a sacrifice, and it was just nice to see him not be his usual self. Then we have the squirrel. I love that episode in Adventure Time where he's like building a tree, and there was just so much world building on the tree. And so to kind of see him just come back and still kind of be jaded with life and stuff, but I found it endearing. And yeah, he kind of ran away and stuff, but I don't know. I just really like seeing him. It was really a nice surprise and a small character inclusion, but it worked out very well. We have the Star and Bonnabelle in the vampire world. It's kind of cheating that I'm putting both of these, but those entrances they had, the way that they're more stern or just more determined, and they're still fighting. It seems like it's a world where they're supposed to be pitted up against each other. So that was really hard to see, but it was also kind of epic. And we have the Ice Prince, Winter King, something like that. That's what they call him. Yeah, just to see Simon in a harnessed way with the crown, the powers, and his abilities, and how expansive the kingdom has gone. It was pretty awesome. But as we kind of know, it didn't end up that way. But again, just seeing that character just so like strong, willful, not creepy, focused. Final one is Icefin. Just to see that total shift in him. He's so like determined. He's not going back there. He has amazing weaponry. Like I could see a whole series just with him afterwards. He has kids now. I don't know where the mom is, but there's just so many levels to this one, and I believe this is from that crossover episode, the whole aftermath of that. So pretty amazing to see that here. Now the other 5 characters. We have at 5, we have Betty. Betty is more, we just kind of get a look into her perspective of the relationship, but it's still so eye-opening. It's so beautiful. It's so tragic. That's what the core is of their relationship anyways. But yeah, she's just someone who's a ride or die, who is so like passionate, full of life. She's cute. It's just, it does everything for me. Fantastic character. And it's a shame how things ended up. But she doesn't regret it, so I don't know. And then number 4, kind of cheating once again, but we have Marshall and Gary. Their relationship is beautiful. It's healthy. It's wholesome. It's cute. And I know it's supposed to be a parallel to Marceline and to Peavy, because this is more naturally grown and they bond over pastries and food and time and, all these things. It's very cute, man. I didn't expect this show to have some of the best romance I've like seen in like animation. So props to that for nailing that combination and dynamic. Number 3, we have Prismo. Prismo is in the background for a lot of the time, but he's kind of just fed up with everything, whether it's just because he's tired of the job or it feels endless. He can't experience those things he had with Jake and everything, his friends. He's kind of just gone and fed up, just like an adult. He's kind of just done with his work and lackadaisical, slacking. But again, to see him in this more adult tone, it just felt right. It felt nice. Though it sucks that this wasn't the original voice actor, because that guy's goated. Also, too, he's technically the actual creator of Fionna and Cake. So this doesn't happen without Prismo, whether that's a good thing or bad thing for you. But Prismo was just an amazing character. I think the top 2 is pretty much clear as to who it is and why it is. But number 2, we got Fionna. Fionna Campbell. So human as Finn. Her voice can get a little annoying sometimes because it's so like high-pitched. Cake. It's so like high-pitched. But same thing, I think she's more complex and free-spirited than Finn. Or at least she's at the same level as that. She's always withholding stuff. She's ambitious. She's a dreamer. She's silly. It's just a perfect blend. And plus, she's an adult, so I can rightfully simp, and it's not a bad thing. Probably shouldn't admit that, but oh well. And number 1, yeah, this is gonna not be a surprise to anyone. And it's crazy how they didn't name this show after him. But Simon Petrikov. Simon The way that they explore this character, this entire series, it's pretty unmatched, and it's masterful stuff. I think the show benefits highly from having a more mature tone, an adult tone. So when we put Simon in this light, we can see how this adapting to being Simon in this world of ooh, he's outcasted. He regrets the past because people just think of him as that. He's trying to be his own person. He can't even participate in their society. The world has much bigger plans for itself. He can't really get in there, even with that phone call with Marceline. I think that kind of explains the way that it's viewed, is that, oh, he's fine, don't worry, or he's an afterthought. And then that's not even the beginning of it, as now we are learning about his relationship with Betty and his mentality towards it, and how painful that was for him to kind of reflect on that and to see the reality of it. And that's even more tragic, filled with suffering. Again, it just makes Simon such a layered character. And that really wasn't the direction I thought they would ever take with this character in the show, with Ice King / Simon. Never would I have imagined that they would have taken him to wherever he was going. Just from seeing him as the Ice King, and then seeing he has that dual personality of Simon that's hidden deep within him, and then how much they actually paint him to be such a flawed, tragic, but human character. I don't know. I feel this show just does a great job at making people feel human. I know that sounds stupid, but I am blown away by Simon. And he honestly becomes one of the best characters I've seen written in fiction as well, mainly animation. And he actually turns out to be one of the best characters I've seen in animation. I don't know how high he would be, but his complexities and the way that his journey is and develops, it only gets better when you get to Fionna and Cake. If you thought before it was tragic and it was filled with sorrow, you get to here and it's a whole another layer. And I didn't think that was really possible, nor did I even think I was getting that type of story here. So this should have been called Simon and Betty, or Simon and Fionna, or something, because he undoubtedly is the best character of Fionna and Cake, and probably even Adventure Time. Episodes. At number 10, we have episode 9, Casper and Nova. This is the only episode I rated a 7 or lower. And again, just something kind of halted. It had a lot of momentum, and this one just felt like it just ran into a pothole, and it was kind of there for a little bit. At number 9, we have episode 10, Cheers. It was a good way to bounce back from the previous episode. It was much needed. And maybe still I have issues with the heavy Golb involvement of the resolve and the resolution. But it's still pretty great with the way that they finish and cap off Simon's epiphany of his relationship with Betty. Number 8, we have episode 3, Cake the Cat. I think this one was just a cake and squirrel episode, and there was probably some hints of the Gary and Marshall developments, but it was still solid. At number 7, we have episode 1, Fionna Campbell. This was the pilot. It was a fantastic pilot as it set the tone for everything, and it was still confusing for me just because I didn't know whether this was just a spin-off series, if this was actually the Fionna and Cake world, if we're still in Ooh. There's a lot of complications here, but it was nice to see all the personalities, all the characters we've kind of come to know just in a different light. And again, it just sets off everything. At number 6, we have episode 5, Destiny. This one is with Ice Finn, Farm World Finn. Here we go back to Farm World, and it's pretty amazing because we have Finn, we have his kids, we have the things with Destiny and that whole gang. It's so epic, and it brings back a storyline in which we kind of thought was over with and done. And it's just awesome to see characters kind of in a different light, especially when we know Finn in the modern Ooh is kind of reverted in a way. So to see this Finn so like stern and serious and mature, it feels great. And the combat here, amazing. The whole relationship with his son and with Little Destiny, also really cute. At number 5, we have episode 2, Simon Petrikov. Yeah, we get the Simon episode, and we get all of his problems with denying Fionna and Cake, with being outside of society, can't really participate. It's a tragic episode. It's a sad one. Everything I already said about Simon, I already said about it, but this episode was fantastic. So at number 5, we have episode 4, Prismo the Wishmaster. The Prismo episode where everything gets kind of revealed with the scrabby villain Chaser, with the actual origins and creation of Fionna and Cake, and just kind of this more jaded sort of Prismo, or soulless, if you will. Important episode, and again, it just takes the entire show to a new level. Number 3, we have episode 7, The Star. Who is the Star? The Star is Marceline. Marceline in the vampire world, where the narrative is now Simon has died. So instead of the part that we know about, she's tied to the Vampire King and just is out for blood, literally. And then it's just, we see PB as well, Martin, HW, and their whole battle, the whole panicking. Fionna kind of feels still bad about killing civilians and innocent people. And then here too, there's contrasts always between Marshall and Gary, and then PB, Marceline of this world. Something the show always does fantastic are just those transitions and the parallels, juxtaposition, if you will. So, fantastic episode. And one that shows the true potential and quality of, hey, let's visit this world or this verse that maybe we all think about. What if Marceline never met Simon? The importance of impact and the people that we encounter. At number 2, we have episode 6, The Winter King. This, I think, by far, the best developed episode of the series. The music is incredible. The plot reveals are immaculate. The animation also is experimented with. And it's just the usual adventure, battle, involvement thing. They go to a new verse after this. Just everything this episode did was pretty much perfection. Number 1, we have none other than episode 8, Jerry. This episode joins my very elite and pristine 10 out of 10 group. For Adventure Time, there isn't many episodes that are in that class, but this one managed to make it because we have this deserted world. BMO is back. The Lich gets revealed. Simon's backstory with Betty is even more enhanced and fleshed out. This was the perfect storm. This episode hit every single thing that I wanted. I don't think I've switched that fast between feeling so choked up and teary-eyed, and then instantaneously I'm panicking and I don't know what to think. That was one of the most bizarre feelings I've had watching a show. Unfortunately, it didn't really allow itself to meet what episode 8 was setting up. But this episode was a pinnacle of the entire series. Overall / final impressions. Fionna and Cake is an astonishing addition to one of the most beloved franchises in animation. This series showcases how strong the writing is for the characters and the world as it goes beyond into more mature, adult, and natural direction. The usage of the multiverse is not complex and easy to follow, which is both thrilling and satisfying to see unveiled. To see how the worlds differ from the life that we know is always a great way to explore the stories people have wanted or wondered about. The way the characters are handled are so down to earth and resonant. One of my favorite things about Adventure Time is the Simon and Betty debacle, which had moments that nearly made me choke up. Music is great, more bloody action, darker tones and situations, inverse worlds, and it leaves even more places to branch into, which is frightening. Yes, there are some moments that do severely impact the season's overall rating, with many setup episodes, which makes getting into it a bit slow. The tension cutting off of the Lich and Golb, and some moments that felt just like to insert fan service and connect stuff with Shermie and Casper involvement. But the pacing was still phenomenal, and those cliffhangers at the end were top tier. Still, there's so much to love with Fionna and Cake, as it does so much right. This might even be some of my favorite moments and run of episodes in the entire series. Heck, this might even be my preferred tone and style of episodes from the series. There needs to be some cleaning up, but Fionna and Cake was superb and I enjoyed it so much. But I only get here because I completed Adventure Time. And this just feels like that journey was worth it to experience this and see this story be told. I'm giving Fionna and Cake Season 1 a 9 to an 8.8 out of 10. Well guys, I am now officially caught up and a part of the fandom, which means the Adventure Time era has come to an end. If I'm still making videos when Season 2 and potentially more seasons come out, then of course I will watch and react to them, as this series will forever have a place in my heart for making me get back to YouTube and gain confidence as a person, speaker, and entertainment lover. So thank you to everyone who has joined me on this adventure.